another session of telling on this Friday night. Thank you so much for joining us whenever you tune in. This is Timeless, and you are welcome to come and go whenever you please, right? Take care of yourself as you only you can. And we're just here to roll the dice and pick a book from our Romany library and share a couple pages, peek inside. And this is for fun and games, for shits and giggles, for entertainment, for flexing our heart, mind, soul, body, spirit, emotions, and intuition. And at the least, we hope to cause harm to none. And at the most, we hope we may assist you on your healing path. And all that said, we're going to light some candles, and I lit some sage already and some cedar. And we have resources listed in the description. And if you have questions, you can leave questions. And we're just lighting candles to start our session tonight. And so I invite you to do what you enjoy doing to set the space for some storytelling. Perhaps it's, oh, see what happened? Feeling that love in your heart, that unconditional love in your heart. Pardon me. And I apologize for my throat clearing. We have been working on our throat chakra, learning how to speak our truths. We feel so blessed to have been learning our boundaries and to be learning how to speak our truth after being embedded in the cut-off culture that orphaned us initially, the adoption fairy tales, the gypsy myths, the patriarchy, the matriarchy, that grief struck by loss, sad gone mad, fearful, amygdala, cycling, authoritatively cycling, fight, flight, freeze, fuck, fawn, emergency states. And we've been dancing away from that and immersion into adoption spirit magic. And so thank you for joining us and helping us hold this safe sound space. And September is Suicide Prevention Month. So the adoptee is 4 times more likely to suicide. Suicide's 4 times more. The gypsy Romani 7 times more, even though adoption is quote unquote for the best and wars were won, so these things wouldn't happen. And so it's not just the orphan, the abused, neglected, orphan, adopted, or the gypsy Romani that feels these pressures. It's also a range of people. You can fill in the blank, from military, police to you can fill in the blank. And so we just want to honor those that have crossed over to Father Sky by way of suicide, and those they left behind on Mother Earth. May they be comforted. And we are hoping that sessions like this help us play through, that the courses and services and products we offer help people play through these times to stay alive. And big hugs to all of you who have been walking these paths. Pardon me. you know, it's not just that, oh, adoptees, oh, poor adoptees, they suicide more, oh, poor Gypsy, Romany, they suicide more. By way of being mistaken and mistreated as addict, ADHD, ADD, criminal, quote unquote dumb, quote unquote evil, rude, ungrateful, and so being mistaken and mistreated as those things, scapegoated, you know, those times when our people are so grief struck by loss, they just lash out in these ways and they scapegoat us. Like, can't you see how hard I'm working? And you'll understand when you have kids, and all these lines that are said to sort of mask over and have kept us bound by these cycles for generations. And we don't have to do that anymore. And we understand that nobody's evil. Nobody is evil. It's just possessed by grief, and it's really challenging. So how to play through, and you know, because it's devastating. It's not just that you've experienced this loss. Okay, now on top of that, you've experienced this devastating loss. Like, being an adoptee is like being the only survivor left on a plane crash where everybody else perishes. And then, so on top of that, now you're labeled all these incurable mental illnesses, like during the Holocaust, how Romani were labeled incurably mentally ill, and this is what the thinking that allowed that regime in power at that time to use Romani as a test run for the final solution. We don't have to do that anymore. We can understand, no, it's just loss, you know. And it's not malicious, even though sometimes it seems that way, right? When you're lashing out and kicking the dog and whipping the posts, scapegoating, all the different ways we can say that. Grief struck by loss, taking your grief out on somebody else. We could tell these stories until we're blue in the face, and then we all are dead, and that's that's not helpful. We want to help transmute these violent cycles into love. So honoring the loss, not sweeping it under the carpet anymore, and striving to maintain equitable contracts, and playing your cards, letting go of the fight, flight, freeze, fuck, fawn cards, and picking up the adoption spirit magic cards. And yeah, so thank you for keeping yourself safe and sound, and hopefully some bits and pieces you find here may be helpful, so we don't have to send our people to institutions or put them in straitjackets or call the suicide police on them. We all just know more within our own household how to help people through these predictable times, right? So that is one of our hopes as we share with you nights like this, sharing from our Romany library, or sharing our online course that you can see on our About page. We're coming up, wrapping our first year up, and if you are sensing this resonates with you, then you would enjoy testing out those courses, those online courses. Reclaim Your Game, Adoptive Parent, College. Those are two of the online courses. You can access those for free. Course code ADOPTEE. And for the month of September during Suicide Awareness Month. And if you want assistance if you want some assistance playing your cards, you may reach out for that as well at which to take at gmail.com. And you can ask for a one-to-one workshop or a group workshop. We may come to your space of worship or work or home, or you fill in the blank, and we can check it out, see how we can make sure everybody is safe and sound and happy and playing through these predictable times where, wow, some of us choose to leave the planet. We don't have to do that anymore. All right, so here, let's roll the dice. We're gonna pick, there's about 100 books in this library. And so we're going to roll, that was one dice, now we gotta roll the other dice. Okay, so we're gonna go into the 20s because look, it was snake eyes. That's so funny, snakes come up a couple times. You know how a snake looks like it's dying when it's molting its skin, but this notion that we can shed our skin and we can evolve, especially through these really challenging times that feel like death. And that too is also this beautiful number of pairing and duality and establishing healthy relationships where we don't give away our power, like it so often happens with orphans and adoptees. And it's not just exclusive to them, right? The inequitable relationships where one person has, in a position of power, holds themselves superior to another. For example, it could be a parent and their child. It could be a teacher and the student. It could be a politician and their constituents, all the different ways that that may play out. But this too may help us play through that and establish more healthy relationships and more equitable relationships where each person has their say and no person's need is put above the others, right? We're walking out of that superiority complex, right? We don't have to play that game anymore. Who's better, right? We don't have to play that game anymore. Dancing away from the fight, flight, freeze, fuck, fawn, grief struck by loss cycles. All right, so now we're in the 20s. Now we need to pick one of those. We're gonna roll again. Oh my God. Well, it took us to 12. That's so funny. Double 2, double 6. So we'll honor that. So that just takes us into 32. 32. And the 6 is a number of service. Differentiates between light and dark and the choices we make between those two. And it also assists with those times when people are so grief-struck by loss, they may lash out emotionally, psychically, you know, when they start talking shit about you over food and drinks with their family and friends and thinking that, you know, well, it's all right because you're not there and you can't hear them, but you really do because we're all psychics and psychics pick up directly on objects, events, and people. And so this number 6 may assist during those times to help you play through. And you know, I've been there myself, and so no shame, not trying to shame or blame, God bless it, but just honoring that fact that sometimes it happens. We're so grief-struck by loss and we start talking shit about our people, and it's essentially a curse, and we can take that back. And so thank God for that. And then we can, once we learn, oops, we didn't really mean to do that, we just thought we were, you know, blowing off steam, we can start choosing a different way. So that number 6 is a number you may play with. You know, we are all different psychosocial science experiments, and what resonates for you may be different than what resonates for me. And so I enjoy inviting you to explore more on your own items like that, the numerology or the candles, or maybe you're interested in the quartz crystal that you see. And we are picking book number 32. So this is Learning Exclusion by Laura Fantone. Learning Exclusion, Roma, Gypsies, and an Italian Periphery. And this is Cuny Graduate Center for review by those in the field. So those of you who are in the psychology field, the sociology field, the education field, the health and wellness field. I mean, it goes across field. This goes across fields when we're speaking to learning, right? Because no matter what you do, or whatever you are choosing to do, you're learning. Whether you decide, okay, I'm going to school because I'm 7 and that's what 7-year-olds do, and we have access and we can get in, or whether you're 27 and you're entering a new profession. So let's see. Now I have to come over here to my bookshelf and pick out this book for us. So here we go. Let's take you with us. Laura Fantone, Laura Fantone, Laura Fantone. Oh, there it is in the corner. I see it. So we need to bring a few items down. Mod Podge. Can you guess what's in that? If you guessed the little balls from the nail polish bottles, you were correct. This is it. Thank you very much. Thank you very much. All right, let's come on back down. Thanks. Oopsie. This is very exciting. A little bibliomancy on a Friday. So, this beautiful book. And so I'm a psychosociologist. I majored in sociology, had a concentration, majored in sociology, concentration in psychology, glory be, and a minor in Spanish. And then after that, did a few more years to become a teacher. So this is extra fascinating. And then when I, pardon me, became a teacher, I became a history teacher because I thought, well, I didn't learn much history in school because I was too busy trying to fit in socially and deal with all the adoption stuff that nobody was talking about and didn't even know it. So maybe I could do it as a teacher. And so that's what happened. That's how I became a history teacher. So this is so cool. This is so cool. So you can see this is a project for somebody's PhD. Fucking thrilling. Thank you, Laura, for being so brave to do such work. And you can see she holds a PhD in sociology and an MA in women's studies from the University of New York. She's currently at UC Berkeley as a visiting scholar. Also taught and did research at the University of Padua. Outside of the academy, Laura participates in oral history, video, and multimedia projects which have been published by Morgana Edizione Florence. Awesome. Awesome, awesome. So, let's see here. Just starting from the back. Looking at a little, love that, bibliography. Pardon me. Let's do this for a minute. Thank you. Thank you, thank you. Hanging out as we flip through this book. So yes, that was all about the bibliography. Just a few pages. Outline of developments. Well, that's coming into play. Edited. Okay. And then, pardon me. just more of the intro. I apologize. Still trying to figure out the setup. If you couldn't tell, we're working on our free PhD in tolerance. Thanks for joining us. Maybe you're earning one too. So you can get a glance at the abstract, which is quite thrilling. So the research spawns from a few underlying questions. Why and through what social process do Italian educational institutions deny access to young Roma? What difference does their exclusion make in terms of their socio-political and economic marginality? How is the knowledge they acquire of Italian culture and Roma culture transmitted to them? What interventions designed to address these problems of Roma Gypsy education appear to be promising? Wow. So you can see they're talking with different people from different walks of life and the different spheres related to these questions, and that's very exciting. And just you know, it's so parallel to No Child Left Behind, and that morphed into Every Student Succeeds. And there's this whole decade that's been devoted to, it's transitioned into many decades. Pardon me, let me be more accurate. 2005, the decade of Romani inclusion began, and now it's been extended through 2030. So it's, I think that 2015 it got extended through 2019, and then 2019 it got extended 2020 to 2030. And so that decade of Romani inclusion and work like this is so parallel to No Child Left Behind. And, you know, if you're thinking loosely, left behind children, they are sort of like what we have learned to call gypsies, right? And so perhaps that helps make some connections or something of that nature. Like, this is relevant, right? This is relevant. The U.S. became an observer of the decade of Romani inclusion in February of 2012. So you can see what's happening, lots of, you know, challenges. And so Balkan Wars socialized to exclusion, outside of institutional imagination. And that's some pretty deep topics. We have some acknowledgements. So this is a work in progress, and I don't see a date on this. All right, so now that we've gone into it a little bit, looked at the intro, sorry, not the intro, the table of contents, the first couple of pages, the cover page, the title page, the book cover, about the author, the index. Let's pick a page within to read. And thank you for sharing it with us in the highest love and light. What can inform us in the highest love and light. And we have come to this page. Roma adults on school. And a wrapping up of, doesn't have a page. Let's see. Looks like an interview. This is awesome. It's got notes in it. Okay, notes in it. Chapter 4, Learning Exclusion from Schools. So there's some interviews. We happen to turn to this page at the end of that. And so we'll just wrap up that. In any case, in all these interviews, the Roma consistently described the school experience as generally positive. However, Baran and Sanad especially mention experiences of discrimination as well as understanding of a widespread, unchangeable, pre-existing bias against them. Beyond the efforts of both Roma students and family, it seems clear that what is lacking is good communication on the goals and practices of school to the Roma students and parents. Anna Clara, Sanad's mentor, is clearly an exceptionally invested teacher. Most teachers do not meet the Roma parents, or they do so rarely. So how can school be understood and valued? How are the issues of discrimination and stigma perceived within the Roma community? I tried to address this complex question by interviewing Roma adults who had contact with Italian schools. Not many, unfortunately. And so, Roma adults on school. In order to understand other complex effects of schooling and lack thereof of the Roma youth, I interviewed some Roma adults, especially those who did attend, few, or that do have close contact of the school situation in Italy. One of them is Milan, the only Roma intercultural mediator in the entire Bologna province. He worked with many teachers in different schools to help Roma students' integration. He gave me an extremely clear answer to the question of how much exclusion happens in school, describing especially the effects of small interactions. Many teachers I met completely ignore Roma culture and the conditions of Roma community's life. Instead, they have a deeply rooted negative attitude towards them. They don't hide it either. Their comments are an insult to our identity and dignity. And yeah, so that's reminding me of what I see. It's not the same, but to draw it back around to the superiority complex we were talking about earlier in this session, and how that comes out in the classroom. And so in the classrooms of America, or the classrooms of like America's front lawns, we may see posters where people are calling this president or that presidential candidate stupid. And so that is what came to me as I was reading this. Like, we have, on one hand, taught this rule in kindergarten: hey, we don't get to call people stupid and treat them that way. And on the other hand, we have a whole adult culture who is practicing that fight, flight, freeze, fuck, fawn, call people stupid, kick one lame dog after another. And we've called that smart. And all these times, smart gets grief struck by loss. This is part of why we do this work and are earning a free PhD in tolerance with you and helping you play your cards through the loss and the trauma for all these times that smart gets grief struck by loss and keeps moving forward, saying, no, this is correct and for the best, when really it's no, you just don't know what to do right now, and you're grief struck by loss, and please back off and come back later when you've taken the time to take sweet care of yourself and do some homework. Right? Every year, teachers are required to do personal and professional development, specifically relating to what might help the students in their classroom this year. So, hey, if you have some people from all over the world in your classroom, maybe that's your professional development that year. You decide to jump in, grabbing a book about each different culture and 12 different students from 12 different countries. Perhaps you notice in your classes and you think that may be an enjoyable way that you may learn more about them in order to be able to serve them more efficiently, more effectively. And these are in your Stacked for Life deck of cards. You're already doing this in different ways. All the different ways that we gather information and that we're playing our cards, and we just keep developing, keep evolving our personal and professional development plan for life. And for us in this channel, at which to take, putting that personal development plan, that professional development plan into a card game to help you along, to help you manage that, to just make it more accessible, because really the loss and trauma is too much. So we need to have a simple game to help us play through, because it's not simple, it's not easy, it's excruciating. So all that to say, this seems very relevant, especially we're all jumping back in school. So many of us are jumping back into school, and our kids are feeling the pressure from the orphan to the adoptee to the gypsy to the black to the Roma to the East Indian to the West Indian to the you fill in the blank, right? And so how can we support our students more effectively? And one of the simple ways is to really focus on dismantling that superiority complex that we see all around us is so smart and correct and for the best. And really it's just leaving behind one person after another. Only the select chosen few adopt success, right? And so we can really make a humongous impact with that slight change of mind. And it doesn't take discipline or practice. It's just recognizing, oh my God, I thought that was for the best, but really it was a superiority complex. Shit, fuck, God bless it, I didn't mean to do that. I can do something else. So, oh my. This has been very interesting. So much has come up, and thank you so much for taking sweet care of yourself, for playing your cards through the loss, especially as we are entering suicide season and homicide season and overdose season. And so keep being gentle with yourself and forgiving and others, and just giving yourself extra space if you need to, you know, tap out for the night and just take sweet care of yourself, or if you need to not go to that event because it's adoption fairy tales and gypsy myths or the matriarchy or the patriarchy. Perhaps you give yourself permission this time to bow out, and without even an explanation, because sometimes, you know, that's just inviting more of a fight, and we don't want to fight anymore, right? Not even the good fight. There is no good fight. And so thank you for helping us breathe life into adoption spirit magic, and for joining us in this episode of Telling. Heartily, we are grateful. Until next time, ciao for now. We love you all.